Hi, and welcome to Westview's Show What You Know game. Today we're going to be playing a game, but before we get started, I'd like to just mention that I know it's a hard time for all of us having to stay at home and not much to do, and sometimes we get anxious or bored or upset. Anytime you feel like that, you're always welcome to call us here at Westview, call your coach, talk to a family member, but talk to someone. Don't just keep it inside. That's not good for anyone. So, in that being said, we'd like to get started with today's game. Today we're going to be playing a game where it's a guessing game where you will have clues and questions to answer each one of these squares. We'll have 5 different categories: COVID-19 safety questions, spelling questions, politeness questions, nutrition questions, and street signs today. Let's get started with row number 1, each one worth 1 point. We will have a total of 80 points here if you get everything right, and we'll have a bonus question worth 20. So if you were to get all the questions right, you're going to get 100 points. But that's not necessary, and even if you miss 5 or 10, that's okay. But as long as you learn something, that's the important thing today. So let's get started. Let's go to COVID-19 safety category. Question 1 worth 1 point today. Name a sign that you may be ill with the COVID-19 virus. Do you remember getting any of the information on COVID-19 in your packets that we sent? If so, you would probably be able to answer one of those signs. Did you guess any one of these? Cough, fever, or having a hard time to breathe? If so, you get a point. Now for question 2. This time we're going to go to the category of spelling, worth 1 point. Can you name a word that starts with R and makes things wet? What could that be? Could you have guessed rain? If so, you get another point. So moving on to the next category of politeness, worth 1 point. What is the polite thing to say to someone when you walk up to them? Would you have guessed hello or hi? If so, you get another point. Moving on to the category of nutrition, the question for 1 point is, name a fruit that is red, crunchy, and almost round. Could you have guessed apple? If so, you get another point. Let's move on to our last category of street signs, row number 1 worth 1 point. This is a street sign. Do you know what this street sign means? You've seen it many times. Do you need a better clue? Now you know. If you guessed stop, you get another point. So if we have all the correct answers in this row with 1 point each, how much does that add up to? 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 equals 5. But even if you didn't get them, that's okay. All right. Now that we've finished row number 1, we'll move on to row number 2. Starting with category of COVID-19 safety, what do you put on your hands when you want to touch something outside or in the stores? If you guessed gloves, that's correct, and that's worth 5 points. Okay, moving on to the next category of spelling. What word ends with the letter G and is found in many people's homes? I'll give you a hint. It's an animal. Would you have guessed dog? If so, that's correct and worth 5 points. Moving on to the next category of politeness, worth 5 points. It isn't okay to start talking while someone else is still talking? If you guess no, that's correct and worth 5 points. Moving on to the next category of nutrition, worth 5 points. What vegetable is long and has the word bean in it? Would you have guessed green bean? If so, that's correct and worth 5 points. Moving on to our last category, worth 5 points, of street signs. What would this street sign mean? Would you have guessed people crossing or okay to cross? If so, that's correct and worth 5 points. Okay, so we have finished this row worth 5 points each. If you added up all 5 of those, how much would that add up to? 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. 5 times is 25. Then you would have 25 points for that category. If you did not get 25 points, that's okay. All right, now we are down to our third row. This row is worth 10 points each. So let's start with COVID-19 safety. Name something you put on your face when you want to go outside to be safe. Did you guess mask or face mask? If so, that's worth 10 points. Let's move on to the second category of spelling. Can you spell the word nice? If you said N-I-C-E, that's correct and worth 10 points. All right, moving on to the third category of politeness. What would you say to somebody who did something nice for you? You would say, thank you. You will get 10 points if you guess that answer. All right, moving on to nutrition, worth 10 points. This might be a little bit harder, but you can get it. How many servings of fruits and vegetables do you need each day? If you guessed anywhere in between 5 to 9, you are correct, and that's worth 10 points. Well, now for our very last question of the game, under street signs worth 10 points. What does this street sign mean? If you guessed the street ends or the road ends, that's correct, worth 10 points as well. So, we have finished row number 3 worth 10 points each. So how much does that add up to? 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. 10 5 times is 50. So, if you got all of them right, you got 50 points. But even if you didn't, it's okay. Now, we are going to go on to a bonus question. For the bonus question, you will receive 20 points if it is right. Your bonus question is, how far away should you be from other people when you are practicing social distancing? That seems like a little bit of a hard question, maybe? Well, if you looked at the materials you received in your packet regarding the COVID-19 virus and safety rules, then you will probably remember having read it. How far away should we be from another person when we're out? Let's see. Do you remember reading that material you got in your packet? Did you look at it? If so, you'll probably remember the answer to this question. Think hard. We have safety rules when we're out in public for COVID-19. Remember, one of them is wearing gloves. One of them's wearing a mask. What's the other one? Well, if you guessed 6 feet or more, that's correct, worth an extra 20 points. Well, that means if you got everything right altogether, you got 100 points. But you know what? We don't always get every answer right, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter how many you got right, but I do hope you learned something today and you come back and join us again. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.